What's up, folks? Got a little Tackle Tip Tuesday for you here. I'm going to show you 3 ways how to save money in your soft plastic fishing. Everybody knows that you can spend a ton of money on fishing in general, but when it comes to soft plastics, it seems like you get one or two good bass or fish out of it, and then it's just done for. Especially worse whenever you waste it on like a catfish or something like that, right? So I'm going to show you some ways that you can save some money. Stay tuned. First way, super glue or gorilla glue or anything that's like this. It can be the gel, it can be the liquid form, it does not matter. And it's very simple how it works. You're going to take your bait of choice, in this case an evergreen jackhammer. You're going to take your trailer of choice. Since we're talking about saving money on plastics here, you want to always make sure that you line everything up perfectly. So always line your baits up and see where they're going to come out so you hook them up the right way. I've hooked up a bunch of these Zaccos, so pretty much could do it in my sleep, I think, at this point. Push everything on nice and straight, because with this tip, once you use the super glue, you're only doing this one time. You're not getting to rehook this bait. And honestly, with baits like this, when you have a keeper that's going to rip your bait whenever a fish pulls on it, this particular tip is the most helpful. Very simple though. Just going to simply put a little bit of dot of glue on there. If I can get some to come out. Little dab will do you. Don't need much. Just a little bit. You actually don't want too much because it'll start getting all up in the skirt and ruining this beautiful hand-tied skirt, but then just push it on. Boom. And now that bait is going to run true. You give that 10 seconds or so, and now you can pull and pull and pull all you want on that, and that bait's never going to rip off of there. Fish can come up and they can grab it and they can pull and they can do whatever. I mean, as you can see, that thing's not going to pull off of there. And that's what I ultimately love about it. You're going to save a lot of money with that trick. You're going to catch a lot more fish on the same bait and save yourself a lot of time on the water as well. All right, tip number 2 is screw locks. Screw locks come on all kinds of different baits, or different types of hooks rather, nowadays for different types of baits. There's a lot of different things between shaky heads and all kinds of other things that you could be thinking about. But simply put, you think something like this trick worm, and it's actually one that I've used before, so it's even a more true example. You can see that this nose of this one's kind of compromised from Texas rigging it with just a normal wide gap hook. But even an old bait like this that I've used before, I can reuse this one again, or I can put this on a brand new bait, which is what you'd ideally be doing in a tournament situation. And ultimately, I can reuse this thing now. Boom. Got me a nice little bait ready to go. That's ultimately going to hold that bait on there, because now, again, same principle as the glue. You can pull on that bait all you want if you're Mr. Bass and he's not pulling it off of there. And then once he grabs it, he's still going to get hooked. So there's tip number 2. Tip number 3, don't be a cheapskate. What do I mean by that? All right, let's take this bait that I just put on here. As I was explaining, I had used this bait before, and it's ultimately been compromised. So if I was going to try to hook this back up, you can see here that it's pretty frayed. Pretty simple. Just reach down to where it's messed up, pinch it off with your finger, bite it off, whatever. And now you got a good solid bait to work with here. It's only this much shorter. Do you think that's going to make a difference to a fish, whether they're going to eat it or not? Now I can go hook this back up on this particular bait or whatever bait, and I've got a nice solid hook connection. So that's another way on the water. If you run out of a pack of plastics, it could be something like this here, this sea crawl, same thing. You would just break off that little end there, and then you'd be hooking it back a little bit further than what you were before. It could be something like this brush hog here. It can be something like a Senko, which you're going to be using a lot of Senkos. And another tip on the Senko, this one I've actually done this with. I've actually pinched this one off and used it out in the water a couple of times for the same group of fish. If you're wacky rigging the Senko, a lot of times you're going to go dead center, right? That's what most people want to do. If you're not using a rubber band, a method you can do is just simply start hooking your hook left or right of center. So once that center starts getting tore up, you can see I've actually wacky rigged this one a few times the old school way. Same thing. Instead of just going dead center, you're going to go left, or you're going to go right, or you're going to go left of that particular spot. So it's just a way to save you some money. At the end of the day, I promise you, a fish does not care.